Hey, I'm Jaime Burns. You're watching the Diving Diaries. I'm sitting on the top deck of the Aqua Cat out of Nassau in the Bahamas. It's going to be a 7-day trip. It's going to be sharks, reefs, maybe a wreck, and more sharks. I hope you're going to join us. The Exuma Cays is just such a great place to dive. Even on the first day and the first dive, after about 5 minutes in the water, a yellow stingray came cruising past and settled down in the reef at about 45 feet, letting us get quite close. Barracuda cruised around and kept us in sight for about 20 minutes of the dive. He was very curious but kept his distance. He was only a juvenile, but he was also followed by a couple of large adults who then cruised behind us and kept us in sight for pretty much the rest of the dive. One of my favourite fish of the sea, especially in the Caribbean, is the grey angelfish. Day 2 saw us at Blacktip Wall. Great barracuda, nurse sharks and angelfish, just to mention but a few. The life is prolific. The coral is pristine, both hard and soft. Blue tangs, black tangs and schools of angelfish were just running around all over the place, keeping close to the walls of the reef and keeping close to the top of the reef because a few of the barracudas were actually cruising around looking for a meal. Blacktip Wall has got a lot of canyons, caves, archways and tunnels. Makes for some very interesting diving. It can get a little bit of a squeeze and it can get a little bit dark, but there's nearly always a way to get straight back up. And you don't normally have any rock right above you, so you normally can see exactly where you're going. It's not dangerous and it is a lot of fun. We've got thunder in the background in case you haven't heard it. We're on the Aqua Cat, as you know. It's time for the shark feed. We're going to find out if the Reef Tech wetsuits, the brand new ones, are going to stand up to it. Light in motion. Let's see what happens when the shark gives it a bang. Or a bump, shall we say. We've got a couple of divers that are going to brave it. Just about the whole of the Aqua Cat crew want to get down and dirty down there. We're going to hang the popsicle in about 25 feet of water and we're going to have some fun. We'll let you know about it when we've finished. In the meantime, let's go and have a shark feed. Sitting in the water as the sharks cruise past you, one eye on you and one eye on the bait, it makes you feel alive. Not only that, you want to have eyes in the back of your head and you're always turning around to see what's coming behind you. Caribbean grey reef sharks lose about 20,000 teeth through their lifetime. When they have a feed like this, they always lose one or two teeth. Normally after the shark feed you can find plenty of shark teeth sitting around on the bottom. I think just about everybody in the group managed to find at least a couple of shark teeth. On the way back to the boat, we found a school of schoolasters and a large school of horse-eyed jacks just hanging around underneath the Aqua Cat in the shade. Also some of the Caribbean grey reef sharks, which are the bigger ones. And these sharks are between 8 and 12 foot long, anything between 400 and about 800 pounds in weight. These are big sharks. they were also cruising around just outside the area where the Horseye Jack's school was. This is TV scuba at its best. A shark feed you're never going to forget. Aqua Cat also at its best. 20 to 30 sharks down there, between about 7 and 10 foot long, anything up to about 400 or 500 pound sharks. Groupers up to 6 foot long, maybe 300 pounds, not to mention the plethora of life that go with it.
28 meters. Basically, what I recommend you do is, we do this dive 2 times. You know, you can concentrate on one side of the reef and the next dive the other side of the reef. Me personally, I love this side of the reef. It's more open spaces where you can see a few times eagle rays in the area or Atlantic rays, you know, the black ones, shoulder stingrays, you know. Well, it's look to the mooring, use the mooring for a reference where you have the area you know you can use like for comeback, and go for this area. When you finish with that, you can cross to the other side. In the second dive, you can concentrate only this area.
We found a rough-tail ray sitting in the sand. It had managed to cover itself and was pretending that it wasn't there, but it was. As the Exuma Cays always promises, absolutely pristine, soft and hard corals. Not only that, we were spoilt for choice yet again with all the usual suspects. We were spoilt for choice as an eagle ray cruised past, circled us twice, and then disappeared into the blue. Next on the agenda was Jeep Reef. I know they call it Jeep Reef because it looks like there is an old World War II Willys Jeep in about 30 feet of water. On closer inspection though, it turns out to be a dumper truck. Now I never actually did manage to get to the bottom of this, why there was a dumper truck so many miles out to sea on this spectacular reef. The last dive of the day ended up with more tunnels, more corridors, more canyons, and the cathedral, which is a massive great rock formation that is hollow. entering it, you will find it is absolutely full of silversides, and there is the biggest elephant ear coral you have ever seen sitting in one corner. The light shines down through various holes in the ceiling, giving an absolutely spectacular effect. This is a dive that you do not want to miss. We came across a hawksbill turtle that was more interested in us, I think, than we were in him. He kept on looking at us, circling round us, turning, looking again, and then when he finally did swim off into the blue, he swam off so slowly it was sort of, I'm not really interested in you, you don't worry me. It was lovely to see. So many turtles are frightened by divers. After lunch it was time for the Allen's Key excursion. This is where the iguanas live. Don't ask, you have to look at the website and they'll explain. Basically, there are iguanas on the island that can be fed with fruit. They've got some real characters among them and it's a really fun thing to do. You want to check it out? If you don't, you can still go diving. You don't have to miss the afternoon's diving, but if you haven't been here to Allen's Key, if you haven't done this, you really have got to go and look at these guys. The characters are second to none. Reminded me of my mother-in-law. Day 6 and it's the last day. First up on the list, the Lost Blue Hole. This is a really excellent dive. It's only in about 40 feet of water, although the blue hole itself will go down to over 200 feet. There are a lot of grunts over here. These are tomut grunts. There are arrow crabs, corkscrew anemone, Atlantic spadefish, French grunts. there are about 30 nurse sharks that live around the edge of the blue hole. They also live inside the blue hole. It's not such a good idea to go inside the blue hole because although it's about 10 meters across, when you go down inside it, it does get cold. The visibility does come down an awful lot. The visibility ends up being between 5 and 10 meters. The water is cold, it gets down to about 22, 23 degrees. And there is a lot of sediment at the bottom, so those of you that actually go down to the bottom, you end up in the sediment and you do not want to land on a sleeping nurse shark. I know they don't have any teeth. Trying to do your 3-minute safety stop at 5 meters with a 400-pound 10-foot nurse shark hanging onto your leg is not something you really want to contemplate. The photo opportunities, the macro opportunities are absolutely stunning. You can stay down there for over an hour because as long as you don't go down into the blue hole, you're only in about 30 or 40 feet of water. For myself, I just sat on a rock and watched the world go by for over an hour. There is a complete myriad of fish around the blue hole. There are some very large shoals of grunts and spadefish. You will find that a lot of nurse sharks do sit around the top of the blue hole, although when they see divers they do tend to scoot off into the blue and then come back again. On the way back I found a nurse shark under a boulder. Not making friends with it. It was a lionfish. Now what on earth was a lionfish doing in the Caribbean? This is a Southeast Asia, Red Sea kind of fish. For some reason they started to get into the Caribbean, especially up around Nassau. This one was a large one. Big thank you to the Aqua Cat staff. Big thank you as well to the sharks. Thanks to Ralph Tech and Iden Motion for the use of all the equipment and diving gear. You're watching TV Scuba. There's more to come.